Welcome, everybody. John Zager. Good afternoon. 12:22 on the eastern slope of Colorado. Kind of had a busy morning. Pretty productive. Got a few things done. Got a blog done. It actually turned out pretty good. Right now I'm just leaving the house and I'm headed out to see the new house and how it's coming along. And I thought, as we've been doing the past couple weeks, I thought I would just do a podcast on the way out there and that kind of thing. It's overcast, hazy here on the eastern slope. They actually have a warning out not to be outside a whole lot today until after 4 o'clock. I don't know what's going on. There must still be fires around us that's bringing in the haze and stuff. But it's pretty weird. It's almost like I'm driving in a fog. Wow. I mean, it's thick. So, anyway, there's the weather report here around Colorado. So, I had some good fortune happen to me. And I want to talk about that a little bit today in my podcast. I had some good fortune. I struggle from time to time, like everybody else, with all kinds of various things, from finances to housing to expenses and bills and transportation and whatever. But it was really nice, unexpected, sort of opportunity a person presented to me, and totally unexpected. Didn't see that coming at all, and I was very grateful and thankful for that happening, and I took them up on their offer. It has to do with two things. It has to do with some temporary housing that's kind of needed or required right now, and it has to do with some financial stuff. Obviously, there's some work involved, and as a result of some work, it might provide some additional income source. So anyway, that was pretty cool. And then I had some misfortune yesterday, which really had nothing to do with me. But I want to explain it to you guys. I got a letter in the mail on a piece of scratch paper torn out of I don't know, piece of torn paper, that's all I know. And it basically was like 2 or 3 sentences and said something to the effect of what an augur I am. And at first I was kind of taken back, and I thought, really? Really? I mean, I know sometimes I can go down the wrong path, but I didn't recall anything, and I had to think and process. And I finally figured out who it was, because of course they don't leave their name or any way to get in touch with them, because they're embarrassed that they're sending it in the first place, and they don't want to get caught because their job is in jeopardy, and blah 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 blah, all kinds of legal things associated with if this person were caught. sending this kind of a note or letter to me, which in fact I was a customer. So anyway, so a good thing and a bad thing. The little deal from yesterday was, and this is clinical psychology, it's just called transference. And so sometimes people get hurt emotionally, physically, when they're growing up. You know, maybe it's a dad, an uncle, I don't know, a stepdad, a brother, who knows, but sometimes people get emotionally and or physically hurt, and they have emotional trauma, and in turn, it becomes unresolved, right? They don't bother to get it fixed, and their life never really takes off or goes anywhere. It just ends up sputtering is what happens, and it's a sad way to see a person live their life. And to them, they can't see it. They don't know what's going on. They don't understand the dynamics or any of that kind of stuff. So, you know, they see themselves working a menial job and how successful they are. And actually, you know, this particular person is just running people away from the company that she works for, and people don't want to be there because of her. You know, we don't want to go there. She's not a very pleasant person to be around. But, so anyway, I wish her well. I hope she deals with her emotional trauma. And transference can be pretty ugly from an ethical standpoint all the way to a legal standpoint. So I got some negative. Wasn't fun. And got some positive today. So it's kind of a little bit of both. Yesterday we talked about gratitude. Gratitude being a key element in getting things manifested. Our ability to be thankful for what our intentions are and act as if we've already received them, even though they're not here. And I spent a fair amount of time on that, and I think we covered it pretty well. Thankfulness is a part of that, to where we need to give thanks and gratitude for things not already received. Does that make sense? For things not already received. And sometimes, the reason I kind of go down this conversation, little guy with a motorcycle going by, there's a fair amount of people, and you've heard me talk about this before, there's a fair amount of people who just don't want to get well. They don't want to heal. It's almost like they would rather die. And I know a few of these people personally. And I've tried to casually make reference to, you know, maybe there's some stuff you could start reading or watching or learning or getting educated on that could enhance, you know, your health. And I don't get much of a response to that. Actually, I get no response to that. And that's kind of being able to know when to back off, I guess, and let him go. I'm backing up my seat. I ran into another person today, actually, as a matter of fact, and kind of a tragic thing going on in that particular family, and somebody not doing very well health-wise, and doesn't seem, based on me just listening to conversation, I have no idea, sounds like this person anyway, doesn't really want to heal. Excuse me. And, that's going to cause a lot of misfortune and stress and grief to people when they're trying to encourage and enhance and inspire the person, to get well. It kind of hurts the whole family, so to speak. I don't know if I'll ever have an opportunity to visit with this individual. Maybe, maybe not. But I sure would be wanting to find out about this person's belief system. I mean, a belief system can keep a person alive and get rid of terminal illnesses in the case of spontaneous remissions, to where people in their last few days decide to change their belief and their terminal illness goes away. Thankfulness is associated with that as well. Sometimes people get it backwards, and they almost appear or seem like they are thankful that they are dying and that it will all come to an end. Whew. Talk about going a long way to get there. There's a lot more to it than that. When you're thinking that you're thankful that you're dying, there's a lot of rage, hostility, anger, just real ugly chemicals going on to create those emotions. And I guess it reminds me of when I was early in psychology. This is 100 years ago, and I was working at a mental health hospital, had an emergency room attached, to a hospital. It was a unit, so to speak, a couple units in the hospital that were all mental health, and the head psychiatrist, had to give people passes on weekends or not. And he gave these 3 guys, they're all different, that were on the unit, passes for the weekend, and talked to the parents and, made sure everybody understood what the ground rules were and where the escape valves were, and, if at any time things weren't going well, just come right on back. And I was the person on call in the ER that weekend, and all 3 of them came back with a bullet hole in their head. A lot of that has to do with mental illness. I mean, obviously you see the anger and, you see the rage and the hostility and not being thankful, and the whole concept of gratitude is not even conceived, but, it goes deeper than that. There's personality disorders and mental health illnesses, diseases that people have that precipitate that kind of behavior. And again, the thing is, and here's the part nobody wants to hear. I've had this asked to me 100 times, is that I'm not responsible for someone who pulls a gun and sticks it in their mouth. The psychiatrist is not responsible for that. I remember sitting down with that psychiatrist on Monday, and his words were around, that's a choice that person made. Has nothing to do with us or what we did or anything like that. We're not responsible for somebody committing suicide. Our job is to provide all the treatment and care and due diligence in their recovery and healing. And sometimes people will choose not to heal. This particular case this morning I heard about, and I'm not privy to any of it, but it sounds like, and I don't think it's anywhere near, what I just talked about, but just a second. Oh boy, that's good. It's an individual who's basically saying, I choose not to heal. I choose to die. I think if you have a terminal illness, it's sort of your responsibility to use any means possible to get well, heal, recover. Right? And there's people all over the world that choose not to do that. They choose not to do that. And this individual sounds like, I don't know, sounds like he's choosing not to heal. How is that any different than putting a gun in your mouth? I mean, how is it any different? It's not. And there's no thankfulness there, because probably a person in that situation isn't looking for thankfulness or gratitude. They're so consumed with what's outside here, all of the anger and possibly guilt and, all those emotions that are negative. They're so consumed in that. It's difficult to look inside. They're concerned with the external world and how it's impacting them and how, I don't know, unfair that is maybe. I've got some hot green tea with ginger root. Boy, is that good. It's hot. It's a little too hot still. But, ginger root really has some positive qualities to it, just like turmeric. So I'm pretty happy to just be using ginger root with the green tea. Green tea, of course, everybody knows, it's like, anti-inflammatory as well. It fights off disease, fights off, things of that nature that cause sickness, ill health, disease. It's pretty powerful stuff, green tea. But anyway, so every day, as long as I can remember myself, I attempt to be thankful, pay attention to, notice, observe, thankfulness for what people do for me, for what the world does for me. I mean, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. Not everybody is going to see that, right? That's true too. Not everybody's going to see that I'm blessed and that I feel thankful and that I feel grateful. And I have so much gratitude for being on the planet. I just can't think of enough ways to give back. That's all I know. That's all I know. I don't know of enough ways every day to give back. I think sometimes I do, but I don't. With that sort of mentality, you're feeling from the inside, not the outside. Not what the world's doing to you, but what you're feeling inside. The appreciation. I think that stuff fights off disease. I think it downregulates genes that are unhealthy and full of disease. I think it upregulates healthy genes that fight off cancers, cardiovascular, just all kinds of tragic things that could be happening to you. I think gratitude and thankfulness are a cocktail that saves lives. So it sort of leaves me with, how would I say it? It leaves me with, we as health providers, be it a neuroscientist, a neuroscience researcher, a psychologist, a therapist, I believe it's our responsibility to work with individuals around thankfulness and gratitude. I'm not so sure that dealing with all the anger and the rage and the hatred and all those negative chemicals is going to get you anywhere. I think it just gets those people in touch with those emotions that upregulate disease. So, what's the other part? The other part is pay it forward, so to speak. I've been given opportunities, right, that that I'm amazed that I receive. I mean, I'm not expecting, did not expect, do not expect. And all I can think about is how to pay that forward. How can I do the same for another? And again, all that does is build your immune system and upregulate disease-fighting genes. I guess lastly, the majority of people that I run into are not looking for healing. I've talked about this good friend of mine, has some cardiovascular stuff going on, and just continues to let it escalate. Right? And that's okay. You know, you got to respect the person, whether they're putting a gun in their head or allowing the disease to progress. And it's sad. It's really sad to watch. And they think they're doing the right thing. But they're not. So, I guess the takeaway for today's thing is don't pass up all the things we need to be thankful and grateful for every day. Don't be so blind as you go through your day that you don't see the goodness that's going on all around us. Turn on the internet and read all the positive stories. Don't even read the negative ones. Just pass them by. And pay it forward. Go out and do something today for another person. God bless everybody. Take care of one another. Hope you're all doing fine. Look forward to talking to you all again real soon. See you. Bye.